Welcome. I'm Rosemary Romero. I'm from Santa Fe. Some folks might remember me from the meeting in February. I was trying to remember how long ago that was. I do mediation facilitation, a lot of special meetings, board development kind of work, and the board thought it was helpful the last time, thank goodness. So they asked me to come back to help with this meeting. We're scheduled to start at 2, but it just takes a while to get through the legal process of getting people signed in, affirming the membership. So apologies for starting late, but we're now ready to get started. So a couple of things. Let me start with a couple of things that are up on the wall first, and then I'll have the board introduce themselves, and then we'll have you all introduce yourselves. Can everybody hear me in the back? We're okay with that? Más o menos? In the back, can you hear me? Okay. When people speak up later, I'm going to ask you to stand up to speak, because it's echoing. It's not just me getting old and hard of hearing. It's echoing, kind of echoey. All right, so a couple of things before I have folks introduce themselves and walk through the agenda. The Greater Chimayo Mutual Domestic Water Consumers Association is on Facebook. How many people use Facebook? Yeah, some. Well, this is kind of the new territory where you're trying to post as much information. So this is the on Facebook, www.facebook.com, and it's got all the information. But my guess is this is where you can find a lot of information as well as on paper. The way that I run the meeting so that folks know is, I just want to make sure folks understand is there's meeting manners that are respectful discussions. This is a public meeting, it's a board meeting, it's a community meeting that is respectful discussion. Could you mute your cell phones, please? Because there's nothing worse than the phone going off when you're in the middle of a conversation. Hold side conversations to a minimum, only because it's so hard to hear in this room that the minute somebody starts whispering, somebody else on the other side can't hear. So it's just respectful. Raise your hand to be called up when we get to that part. I'll call on you. I usually only count to 3. I'm from Santa Fe. We only count to 3, I guess. So raise your hand to be called on. And then what I call share the airtime. I'm going to try to get everybody who needs to speak, wants to speak. I'm going to make sure that I'm fair. The way I run meetings is absolutely fair. Raise your hand. If you've already spoken once, I may pass you up to go to somebody else, but I'm going to keep the conversation going so that people all have a chance to speak. I keep track of the meeting through the summary here. I keep track of what's being said, but you'll notice that Jessica's here to videotape it. And it's only to make sure that the minutes are absolutely accurate. And the only way that that happens is through a videotaping and through the summary, and then Shelley takes these two pieces, the summary that I write and the way I keep track of the meeting and the videotape. So you are going to be on videotape. And I said to Jessica, please don't put it on Facebook. All right, so that's how we keep track of the meeting, so to make sure that we get a very accurate set of minutes. Because this is a public entity, we want to make sure we follow all the rules. All right, with that, I'm going to turn to the board members first, and then I'll come back to the administrative staff. So if you could start, Mark, with introductions of yourself, please, and I'm going to come back to other folks. So this is the board members.
Yoga Silva, acting president.
Thank you.
John Isaacson, acting board member.
Thank you.
Shelley Bishop, secretary.
Thank you. So, and I know it's hard to hear in here, but folks know each other pretty well. You've got what I would call administrative staff, and let me start with Michelle.
Michelle Henry, attorney.
Mark Trujillo, engineering advisor.
Thank you.
Francis Abeta, the operator.
All right. So let me have folks quickly introduce themselves. We'll start with you. I know who you are, but you got to do it anyway. I'm sorry.
Dwayne Davis.
Thank you.
I'm Diane Nunez, I do your billing.
Thank you. I should have introduced you.
Oh, that's okay.
Part of that first group. Diane, thank you.
Diana Trujillo.
Tito Padilla.
Gracias. Hi, Denise. Good to see you. Former elected officials, so that, old friends. All right.
Sue Martinez.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Judy. Viola, thank you.
Bianca Reyes.
Thank you.
Angelina Lopez.
Thank you, Julie.
Mitch Toasty Kilgore.
Thank you.
Phil Kilgore.
Thank you.
Liz Natalie.
Thank you.
Dave McCormick.
Thank you. Back here. Oh, I'm going to go right over here.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
Henry Kay.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I go over there, I'm going to start right here. Name.
Joe Martinez.
Thank you, Joe.
Jessica Espinosa.
I'm sorry, what's your first name?
Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica.
Esther Espinosa.
Thank you. Linda Ortega. Thank you. Gracias. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Rose Spiegel.
I sorry, Rose?
Rose Spiegel.
Thank you. All right, in the back. Thanks, Ted. Thank you.
Sue Farrington.
Let's see. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't miss this row here, did I? Did I miss you? Okay, I'm going to come right back. I didn't? Thank you. Did I miss you? Okay. In the back? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Wilfred. Thank you. Thank you. Say it again. So I'm going to facilitate the meeting. The board members will be acting as board members following the rules of follow Robert's Rules of Order. So just to reaffirm with folks, the meeting has been posted as per the Open Meetings Act. As a former city official, I'll tell you, we live by Robert's Rules of Order, and that's what we're following. But there are 8 items on the agenda. I hope folks had a chance to look at the agenda. These were posted by Jerry Baca per the Open Meetings Act. So these are the 8 items that we'll be discussing today. So Miguel, you and I will be doing this hand in hand as you as the acting president. So I'll look to you for a couple of things. I don't believe I have missed anything, but for each item, I'll introduce the item that's going to be discussed. If there's some background information that I need to give on it, I'll talk a little bit about that, on how the voting will work for that. So this is part of democracy at its best and at its worst in many ways, but you get to participate. That's what this is about. But the board's got its own work to do. So we're gonna start with that board work that needs to be done, and I know there's a petition that's going around, and that's the 8th item that we'll be dealing with. All right. So with that, Miguel, I'm going to turn to you. Folks, okay with the ground rules that I've passed out here? Any questions on where we're at so far?
I have a question. Before we take any action or start voting on anything, I would like to ask you all, what's the total number of membership, including standby and regular members, so we can know what number we need as a quorum?
All right, so this is what Shelley, your secretary, has been doing, so to make sure that folks understand who is a member, who can vote. I think it's one household, one vote, but let's walk through that, Shelley, so everybody knows what the rules of the participation are. So thank you for the question. We'll make sure that we do that.
Okay, we have a total of 451 members. Once you've stripped out the number of people who are not in good standing and therefore not eligible to stand to vote or to participate in decision-making during the meeting. So 451. And
So did folks in the back hear that? So Shelley, if you could stand up as you say this. So the question was about membership?
Yeah, when we have a meeting and we are going to take a vote on any decisions as a membership, we have to have 6% of our members in good standing present. We have 451 members in good standing. So 6%, I'm going to do the math right now. Is 27 members.
So 27 members can vote?
No, the 27 members
Four,
are needed to have an election or any other vote by the membership.
Got it.
And I'm going to count right now and tell you how many of you are in the room who are members of good standing who are helping us to achieve the quorum.
How many members do we have total, whether they're in good standing or not? That's really important to know.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and,
So Shelley, what was that? Oh, okay. This is the voting piece, right? Next time I go. I'm gonna make sure I got this correct.
we have 53 members in good standing present.
So Shelley, I got this right, there's 53 members in good standing. Correct. Present. 53 members present in good standing. And of that, 6,
No, it's 6% of the full membership.
Oh, the full membership, got it.
If you multiply 451 times 6%, you need 27 members
got it.
in order to conduct any business as a.
This is a magic number right here.
Yes, and
Got it.
we passed that.
Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and get started with the board work itself. And Miguel, I'll turn to you for approval of the agenda, please.
Okay, so we call to order.
You are called to order.
Then we have 15. Second? 57?
We have a motion to approve the agenda. I second that.
All right. So you've got a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented and following the open meetings resolution. All right. So all the board members in favor of approving the agenda. This is not a membership issue. This is a board issue. All right. Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any noes? All right. The agenda is approved. So I'm going to be following, so what we're doing is following Robert's rules to get the board work done, and then there's the other piece, which is the membership part, just to reaffirm with people. And I try to underscore the magic numbers as I call them. All right, anything else, Michelle?
I was just going to say, I think Shelley said there's, 57 members present?
They just walked in, how many?
I'll count again.
Okay, because we're moving forward, Shelley's going to make sure, because this is a legal issue that we want to make sure that we're following. So as we're moving forward with the agenda, Shelley will keep track of it. This is one of the reasons why the board thought it'd be good to have me here to keep track of the discussion, because Shelley, as secretary, has a lot of balls in the air that are happening, and it's hard to keep track of things. So this is keeping us right on track. All right? So we've got the approval of the agenda, which is item A. All right, board members, I'm going to move to item B, which is the board election position.
Let's do the minutes.
Oh, my apologies. So the board, so Miguel, again, I'm going to turn to you. The item A on your agenda is approval of the minutes from the last annual meeting of 8/11/13 and minutes from the special meeting of the full membership of 2/19/14, and that was the meeting that I was at. So you are approving two sets of meeting minutes. Do you want to do those in one motion? You can. All right. So the motion, if Miguel.
Move to approve the minutes from the last membership meeting and from the last special meeting.
All right. So there is a motion on the table to approve the annual membership meeting minutes of 8/11/13 and the meeting minutes of the special meeting of the full membership of 2/19/14. Is there a second?
I will second.
All right. There is a second on the table. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any noes? The ayes have it. I'm going to note for folks in the audience that there are what I would call administrative staff who are here to talk about specific issues on the agenda. They don't vote. You have board members who are voting board members. So just want to make sure folks understand that. All right? Now I can continue.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. So I'm going to turn to item B, board election position 3. Miguel, or Michelle, can I turn to you for the overview on this first, please?
Excuse me.
Question on this.
Yes, I believe those machines could be shut off.
Oh, that'd be fabulous. Unplug them.
Yeah, if someone could do that, it would really help us.
Yeah.
Just, they're horrible.
And as long as somebody remembers to plug them back in, we are good. So for each item I'm gonna get to you, for each item that is being presented, let me have Michelle give the overview. I'll open it up to the audience for any questions on that item, and then the board will act. So hold your question just a minute. We're gonna unplug machines. See, this is why you pay the attorney to unplug the machines and be the legal voice, called multitasking. Item, how we're going to do it is, we're going to introduce the item, and then I'm going to have a little bit of discussion for folks who are unclear about a specific item, and then the board will act on that. All right, and it's not just the board. For board elections, I believe you each got a ballot on this also. Shelley? All right. So let me turn to Michelle to introduce the board election position 3 item B. And then we'll have some questions on that and then do our work on it, all right?
All right, just real quick, you have a ballot if you're a member in good standing. Just a reminder, there's 1 ballot per household, so if you're a husband and wife, you share that ballot, okay? Or if you've got more than 1 person who is living in the household, roommates, for example, you share that ballot. If you're a person who owns more than 1 property, you still only get 1 ballot. That's the rules from the bylaws. We have 2 candidates for the position. Rosendo Baca is not here, unfortunately, but still a candidate, of course. And then John Isaacson is here. You probably know John. John was appointed to the board in between the time of our last annual meeting, which was the special meeting in February, and now. So he's been serving as a board member, and he now stands in front of you for a vote. So you've got 2 candidates. And we have to do this by the paper ballots, so we're going to have to share pencils and try to get this done. But does anyone have any questions before we get there?
All right, I've got a couple of hands, so I'll take your hand first and I'll come back up here.
Yes, hi, my name's Frances Hill, and I want to know how these people got nominated. I mean, are they from our area? Are they from Chimayo? Do they know that what we're going through? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So there's a process, and Michelle, I'm going to turn to you for this. Is the question for folks who couldn't hear it in the back is, what's been the process to get these people on the ballot? Are they from here? What are their qualifications to have been nominated for this election? I'm kind of shorthanding it, but that's the question. All right, Michelle.
Thank you. Good question. To stand for election, you have to be a member in good standing, and that's from the bylaws. Good standing means that you're not in arrears 90 days on your bill. And to be a member, it means that you live within the service area of the Greater Chimayo Mutual Domestic. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you are an active member, but it means that you are a member. So perhaps you have water, perhaps you don't. You could be a standby member and still run for the board. Did that answer your question? And then
You do have to have filled out a membership for.
And membership.
It doesn't, yeah, it isn't that you live in our service district, it's that you become a member. But you, as Michelle said, you may not have water.
and so the process is,
Do these members, do they pay their water hike also?
everybody's water rates are the same. Everybody's water rates are the same.
I can speak to that personally. Am I allowed to speak as a candidate?
Clarify, sure.
I
Stand up.
I live on a road that does not have water, and I am interested in expanding the water availability within the community. So I've lived here for 15 years, and I'm volunteering to help on the board. That's
Okay.
really my story.
And if I can add-
I'm very proponent.
All right,
Can I
Michelle.
add one more thing, Rosa?
Yeah.
I didn't even catch that.
No, that's okay.
You might have been asking, what does it take to run? So there was a notice that went out of this meeting, and it said if you're interested in being a candidate, here's the qualifications, but you need to turn in your candidate packet by a certain date. And included in that packet is financial disclosure forms, and those are all posted up on the wall. The board felt that it was very important for people to know what possible conflict of interest a candidate has. And so for the candidates, their financial disclosure forms are on the wall. For the board members who are not up for election right now, their financial statements are posted as well, just for your information, so you know whether there's any conflicts of interest before you vote for a person.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Let me tell you the 3 hands that I've got so far. As I told you, I only count to 3. I had you next.
Okay.
I had you next, and I had you third. And then I'll start the count again, and I do see the hand in the back. So I'm going to start again on the count of 3. So you're next.
When we were handed the ballot, I asked ask my husband, do you know these people? Do you know their qualifications? We know nothing about these people that we're voting for. Most boards that I'm on, when there's an election, they post it in the newsletter on there, and they let me know the qualification, they let me get to know the person. So I feel as a member that if we vote, we don't know who we're voting for. And then I have a second question. When I came in, I'm a representative for Charles and Melissa Zahn, who just recently bought some property. And I told him about the meeting that was gonna happen, and he said, any decisions that need to be done, go ahead and just make those decisions, you know what we want. Well, and I asked her if they had a right to vote. She said there's no proxy voting on there.
Yeah, the bylaws don't allow proxy voting.
Okay,
So to ask that second part of the question, so we'll go back to the first part.
okay.
The question that was asked earlier, and I think is reaffirming, is that people were, for the election, the qualifications were somebody in good standing, that they live in the service area, that they have a membership form, and all rates are the same. I think that was the woman in the back's other question. But that there was a notice that was sent out with qualifications. There was a packet. This is the other part of it, is you want people who are going to be running, who have filled out forms that, like a financial disclosure form and a conflict of interest. Those are the qualifications that you have now for membership. If those change in any way, those would have to change through the bylaws. Michelle, you'll correct me if I've gotten anything wrong, because I'm following what I've read in your bylaws. So if there's anything that's different, you want different than the things that are standard that the state requires, you would have to change those in your bylaws, but these are following the requirements as they are noted in your bylaws. Correct? Did I miss anything?
But that's not the question she asked, though.
Oh, no, but I was just affirming what the qualifications were. Her second question, which I think was answered, was the qualifications.
How do we know?
Yeah, I don't know that part.
See, because they didn't
Yeah.
anything even in the.
They should have
Newsletters
sent it prior. They should have sent the people that were going to be running
Good
with
suggestion.
whatever their qualification, to let us know, because we don't know these people. I don't know who I'm voting for.
Right.
I really honestly say, I don't know how to fill out this ballot, because I don't know if I'm voting for the right person. If I fail, I don't.
Okay. And the second part of the question, I don't know, our folks, if there's any response, we'll hold that. The second part was there's no proxies. Okay. So I'm going to come back to that first part in just a bit. Who was my number 2? This is a test. Thank you.
I don't want to put John on the spot, but I would like for him to address the group here for a moment to know who you are, you know.
Sure.
It's unfortunate you don't have a competitor here, but
Yeah, well, I guess we're sent over this.
Do you want to stand and
Sure.
answer
So,
that first question?
Okay, so I've lived in the community for 15 and a half, almost 16 years. I have just recently retired from working at the lab. I was working at Los Alamos National Lab for 15 years. I was there originally as the lab's archaeologist. I'm an archaeologist by training. Since I have recently retired, I thought it would be a good thing to do some community service volunteer work, and so I agreed that I would serve on the board in the interim and run for election. I don't have any specific training in hydrology or any of the directly related disciplines to the water system, but I was interested in contributing to the development of the water system. I think it's a great idea, and I was hoping that we could expand the infrastructure and include those areas that weren't included in the first 2 rounds. So that's my motivation, and I don't know, that's my story.
thank you, sir.
So archaeology was your background?
Archaeology is my background.
I want to make sure I got that. Your qualifications are you are an archaeologist. Formerly, you were retired from the lab, and you're willing.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I've got you next. So, did we answer all the questions?
No, that's, yeah.
Okay.
You did, I admire you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Number 3.
Okay, it's not, I'm going to take anything away from the board. We appreciate everything you do and all the hard work you do. However, this notice he sent out in the mail makes me feel that we're living in a communist state or even a communist country. citizens in good standing, we can vote or delegate ourselves to run for office, not by the way you are posting these things. You're keeping us from doing what we feel is right for Chimayo. It's not possible for us to vote for a candidate if there's only one candidate on the field by acclamation. Why are we wasting trees on paper? If there's an election for just one candidate, we are free to have an acclamation vote. And your minutes are your record for whoever audits them.
No. So,
And I have a concern about the quorums in all these past meetings. Have we really had quorums to make everything you guys have passed legal?
yeah. All right, so let's start from the bottom up. Is Shelley, as the secretary of the board, this is why you got it. So if folks can hear this, so I'm hoping that if you have a comment, you'll hold your hand up and I'll call on you. So hold on. You've got recording of this one. Shelley, do you want to walk through that? That's why folks have come in and signed in appropriately to make sure you've got the members in good standing. There's a lot of steps that have to go into this process, correct?
Yes.
So when folks sign in and the board meetings are posted, I would assume, so you want to walk through a little bit about the process, I guess, to answer that question of how the board operates in its legal standing as a board under the State of New Mexico Open Meetings Act?
Sure. Basically, we had a election that occurred at our annual meeting last August, which was added to the agenda at the meeting, similar to what you are proposing right now. And a complaint was filed with the State Attorney General's office because the procedure was not the correct procedure under state law under the Open Meetings Act. We had a conference with the State Attorney General's office and they advised us of how we could remedy the situation. And the policy of having folks apply to run for the board and complete a conflict of interest and financial disclosure statement in advance of the election, and the meeting notice that was sent out to you was the prescribed result of our code.
I'm just affirming what I said earlier. So hold on, because I had a couple of hands. So that's what we've got now is a proper vetting that's occurred from the Attorney General's office per your bylaws. This is what people have followed. I wish people would step up to run, and it's always kind of at last minute sometimes, but I hear what you're saying, but it sounds like from what I just heard from Shelley, it's followed the Attorney General's.
I honestly don't believe that that's exactly what the Attorney General's office said, because what is here is you guys, the board is dictating to us how to live, and Chimayo is not in a communist country.
No, it's different. It's very different. All right, so that was a comment. So I'm going to take a couple of other hands. So I've got your hand there. Hold on, let me just take 3 hands. 1. Do I have your hand next? 2. And then is there another one here? And then I'm going to see what else we've got. All right, go ahead.
This is in regards to the State Attorney General's office, and you're absolutely right. There was a letter dated August 26, 2013 from then President Mark Trujillo stating that the Attorney General's office, Jennifer Salazar, had requested or suggested that you do a financial disclosure, conflict of interest, and whatnot. So then I went ahead and I asked for some documents from Shelley. I wanted to know because I didn't think it was appropriate to disclose if I wanted to run my in-laws, financials, anyone, my mom, my brother, my sister, anyone. It's no one's business, I'm sorry, but it's my personal business. And if I want to run, I should be able to run, not based on my financial statement. So I then contacted the Attorney General's office and I spoke directly with Jennifer Salazar, and I also have an email from her. And she does not have any recollection speaking with anybody from the greater Chimayo regarding it. And in her email to me, which I have copies, it says, the Open Meetings Act as my division, civil division, does not generally answer public questions concerning the Governmental Conduct Act or other financial disclosure questions. I also inquired with my colleagues in the office about the association's conflict of interest form, and nobody seems to know anything about it. So I'm just bringing that up. I had several conversations with her, and she again went and contacted the people in her office, and nobody knows anything about it. So I just want to leave that there, and just so you know, I did.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to have Michelle answer the question and I'm going to, as I turn to Michelle, I'll say as a former elected official, I did have to file a conflict of interest forms just so people knew if I was ever voting for my primo, the Garcias and Espanola, that they knew they were on there. But there's reasons why, and I'm being a little facetious, but there's reasons why.
Right, but she indicated that they do not require any of that for any kind, especially an organization such as ours, a conflict of interest or a financial statement.
So let me have Michelle.
I don't know if maybe if you're, applying for, a representative, a state senator, perhaps, I don't know, but for a community like ours, that's not the requirement.
Okay, so I'm going to have Michelle answer, who's the attorney for the board. So let's have the legal opinion of your attorney respond.
So this body is a government entity. A Sanitary Projects Act entity, like a mutual domestic, is an arm of the state. It is no different than if you're running for Senate. It is no different. The board members here have to fill out the same financial disclosure, conflict of interest forms as Rosemary did to run for office. The forms we use, we started with Santa Fe County forms and doctored those up, and those are the forms we use. This board is a government entity. This body is a government entity. You have to follow the rules. It's not just a nonprofit corporation. It's not just a community organization. It is a government body. You follow the Open Meetings Act. You follow all of the other requirements of your county commissioners, of the city of Espanola, of city of Santa Fe, of city of Albuquerque. It's the same rules that apply. And so that's why you as voting members of the public of this government body are entitled to know a person's financial interests, and you are entitled to know where they have conflicts of interest. Because if that person has conflicts of interest such that they're going to have to recuse themselves from board votes again and again and again and again, you're entitled to know that this person's not even going to be able to be an active board member. And that's why we do this, and that's why other government entities have to do this. And so I'm sorry that the woman at Attorney General's office forgot about the discussion.
Yeah, well, I would think that it's something that I would remember if it was such an important thing. And also, if that was the case, why didn't she remember that other agencies, other government agencies have to apply this? Because she stated that nobody does. So I don't know then where there's a conflict there, perhaps, but that's what she said. So I'm just very concerned, and it's upsetting to me also that the form that you all sent out where we want to go ahead and apply, it's, some people never even got it, or when they received the form to apply, it wasn't until after it was required. Why is it was August the 4th was the requirement to submit any information, when here we are, August the 24th for the meeting. So I'm sure there were other people that maybe would be willing to fill out that financial disclosure form, but didn't have an opportunity to fill that out. So why also was that window so short?
So if I can just say one thing, there is a seat that is open. Mark Trujillo has termed out as president, and so his seat needs to be filled. So there will be a special meeting coming up soon, and we'd like to try to set the date for that later on today. But for those of you who would like to sit on the board, there is an opportunity coming up.
And you would have to fill out a financial. There's
you got to follow the rules.
Why is that window? But why is the window so short for anybody who wants to send in their information?
So we'll make it longer next time.
And that's a good information maybe and miss that deadline. I know it would have been interesting if other people would have liked to run. So could you expand the window then for any individuals?
So I'm hearing the attorney say that yes, the time frame could be expanded because maybe people need a little bit of time to go through their financial disclosure forms, check with their family to make sure that they're okay in running, a couple of things. And so they'll take a little bit of time. So I'm hearing the board nod that they would extend that time period. So at the end of the meeting, we're going to talk about what the date is for that special meeting so that we all leave here knowing. So when you leave here, you'll know what that date is. Okay? So I hand you next.
Yes. Point of clarification, last year at the annual meeting, there was an election and it was done in fashion that we have been used to doing it, which is basically nominations from the floor. And the reason why the two people that got elected at that time was Phil Kilgore and myself weren't able to serve is because this board failed to put on the agenda what is required by our bylaws, that there is an election at membership meetings. Your bylaws read membership meeting agenda. This is in place last year. 1, calling to order and proof of quorum. 2, proof of notice of meeting. 3, reading and action of any approved minutes. 4, reports of officers and committees. 5, election of directors. Last year's agenda left off election of directors. And we think that was an oversight that created a great deal of controversy in the system. And we haven't gotten over that controversy yet. The whole idea is this is a town hall meeting, and we have done this for years. People want to know who's willing to serve, who has something to offer. They rather hear it right here in this crowd. They're capable of electing replacements for this board from one end to the other. But when you imposed the disclosure form, which is a questionable, not a questionable legality, but certainly it has a discouraging effect. It bottlenecks the whole process. People who are confused about it. They want to come here and elect their people right now, today, if they could. And see, this is the type of thing this board has to understand. Let's stay with the traditions that work. If they sign a disclosure form, they can sign it after they've been elected. They shouldn't have to sign it before. They can sign it after they've been elected, and if they can't sign it, then they won't serve. So there's no need for them to sign it just to run. And that's one of the things that how many candidates do. When if you have probably 10, 15, 20 people here that are willing to serve today, if it's possible. So this board, and no reflection of the new members. I sympathize for the position that they're in, they're new, but this is some of the history that you have to be aware of, and this is why we're in a situation where now we've got, we talked about changing bylaw. Well, the bylaws don't require, that was done by this board, it was not done in the bylaw. There were no changes. The members decide what the bylaw is. And there might be some changes, but they have to be proposed to the membership. This is what we have. The bylaws are current as of 2011. So that's what we're doing.
What are we asking?
So I'm going to come back to a couple other folks. But just to affirm, as people who are accepting money on behalf of the community, the regulations do call for these conflict of interest. Now, your point about some of these, that people can decide whether to run and then be vetted through that process, I don't know if that's possible, but I think it's food for thought. But it's kind of a double, people who say, I want to run, they find out, oh no, I'm going to be fingerprinted, or oh no, I'm going to be a conflict of interest. It's extending a process. I'm just noting that it extends a process, but it's food for thought, and people can consider that. I think there was another consideration to make the timeline a little bit longer so people can think about it, what it entails. So that's another piece of it.
Consideration is not to do it as a requirement to run for election. They can do it after they're elected and sign at that point in time.
Yes, on that point, Michelle?
Okay, and thank you, Ted, for bringing up that point. The board acted on my legal advice relating to conflicts of interest and financial disclosures, in part so that this information would be presented to you, posted on the wall, we'll get it on the Facebook page, if we have a website, we'll get it up there, so that you have a chance to look at the candidates for office ahead of time. Now, Ted, you might disagree with me, you may have a different legal opinion, I respect that. You have two lawyers in the room, and they do. But the board acted on my advice. I have an opinion letter that we can make available to you. But they acted on, they noticed in their agendas for the regular meetings or their special meetings that they were taking action on this issue. You all are welcome to come to board meetings, many of you do, and I appreciate that. It's a good chance to interact with the community. All of this was done in the light of day. And so to now say you don't have procedures to follow is not true. There are procedures to follow. Those procedures are in place, and we've got to stick with those procedures or we're going to get in trouble again. So, there's a process, there's a seat that's open, so we can have an election coming up very soon if anyone else would like to serve on the board. This is tough work. This is hard work. We will have a chance to be there.
Okay. All right, so I've got 3 hands in the back. I've got you, and then, sir, you'll be number 2. Is there a third one? All right, so, I'm sorry? Because he's older?
No, he's ahead of me.
Oh, he's ahead of you. What? All right. See, I couldn't hear what you. So maybe a question for the board. Who has run and who has been appointed is you list your qualifications, and then you can say, and I've served on this committee, or I've done survey work, or I've done hydrology work. There's some other, besides the community things, there might be other qualifications. Those are criteria that you're looking for. Because somebody says, I want to run, it's like, well, do you have the time? I'm hearing somebody say that they've got time. So there's some criteria that you think would be important. Sometimes the really, really great people that you think should be running, they say, no tengo tiempo. I don't have time. So, the encouragement is get in there and hone your skills to run, because it's hard work. And the criteria is really, really important. So I hear what you're saying. All right, who was my number 2? You didn't give up your seat. All right.
Charles Ortiz. I'm here.
So you don't know who Rosendo is, other folks might not know who.
He says he's my next door neighbor, but I also.
Yeah. Miguel knows him, so Miguel, you know him.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to describe him. Rosendo Baca is one of the elderly men of Chimayo.
So hold on, folks, he's describing who Rosendo is.
He lives up on Baca Hill, up above the rancho de Chimayo. He has a son named Tomas Baca and a big black dog who's fierce.
Oh, is that criteria? They have a big bad dog.
Anyway, I'm sure he's born and raised in Chimayo all his life.
Yes. So, so those are the 2 folks that we've got, correct? And so, did you want to add anything else about how well you know Mr. Hutchinson?
No.
Okay. Who was my number 3? Was there one? Anybody who's not had a chance to speak? All right. I think we've walked through a process to be clear. There may be some disagreement, but following, I think the legal opinion of the attorney you have serving the board, that you are following the process. There may have been some bumps in the road. I will say, having worked a lot up in Oaxaca and in other even Acequias, when you're asking people to volunteer their time, yeah, so there's sometimes some bumps in the road. But you learn, you go through training, you try to figure out the best way to do the job that you can, and you follow the rules that you've got. And if you don't like the rules you have, you change those rules, but these are the rules that you're operating under, which were the kind of percentage and standing, that you know who's running, you know what their qualifications are, whether they have a big bad black dog or not, or that they're in the room or not in the room. These are the people who have put their names forward, following the rules that they've given statements of qualifications, they've filled out the financial disclosure forms. Am I seeing nods on this from the board? And they have filled out the conflict of interest, saying, I don't have any relatives who would benefit from my being on the board, and if I do, I'd have to recuse myself. Those are important things. Those are really important things when you are asking for money from the state government or other entities to provide water for a community. You have to follow those rules. Whether there may be a different interpretation of that, but when you are taking money from the Water Trust Board or other entities, it is good to just play by the rules. All right. So with that said, one last hand, and then we'll take a vote.
I want to make a point about getting things done, getting the board going in your direction, get your interest. It's not coming to just this meeting on an annual basis. If you show up at the monthly meetings and speak on the items that are there, this is where the work gets done. For instance, they've adopted a procedure for electing people to the board that what I see here is against the grain of most of you. And that was done at a meeting. There was some voting done on it. If you've been at the meeting, I wasn't there. You know, I'm guilty of this also. But if you've been at the meeting and said something, there's a chance to turn the tide. And so it's the monthly meetings that add to the foundation of events that we're dealing with on our annual meetings. And it's everything that we're doing here today is set up by procedure from the last year or two. And so it's those monthly times that you've got to be there and monitor what's going on and speak up, say your voice, speak from your heart about what you want. And that's where you get the work done.
Okay, thank you. All right. Seeing no other hands, you are on item B, which is board election. Following the standards of election, Shelley has gone through the process of making sure people are in good standing. You've gotten a ballot, one per family. No dogs allowed. Even if you have a nice black dog, that one can't vote. One vote. Anybody need a pen? Back there? All right. Who do we give them to? You will give them to, Shelley take the, Shelley, you've got a box?
Select the ballots in her box.
All right, so when you completed your ballot,
It's empty.
there's an empty box at the front, and you'll put your ballot in that box. 33 and John Isaacson 18. And so congratulations to Rosendo Baca for his being newly elected to the board. All right.
So, I guess I'm done.
Thank you for your service. Do you want to say anything?
Thank you.
33 and 18.
Thank you, John.
All right, so we are thanking John for his service and for being willing to step up. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
All right, I'm going to continue with your agenda. And folks can look up my special little bells. Kind of like in church. Okay. So it's hard to hear. If folks can keep it quiet, please. I'm going to keep us going through the agenda. Michelle, I'm going to turn to you for item C, review of the water rights issues. And that'll be an overview. This is a discussion item. There's nothing to vote on. It's a discussion item for community members to know more about what's happening with the water rights issues. Michelle.
Before we move on, we maybe try to set a date for the next meeting and
For a special
have something to add to this.
Okay, so before we go, so folks understand, before we go to the next agenda item, setting a special meeting for the election, because people have said this is really important, so let's set some time. Shelley?
Yeah, my question for all of you is, would you prefer to have the special meeting of the membership for the election for the 5th position on the board on a weekend day like Sunday, like we're doing today, or on a weeknight? Is there a strong preference? If it is a weekend day better, if you just raise your hand and let me know if that's better?
Weekend day, so for folks who want a weekend day for voting, raise your hand.
Weekend day, daytime.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, and then what about a weeknight? Okay, weekend day it is.
Oh, I know, that's 2 hands. You must work full time, right? Yeah. All right, so thank you, Shelley. I think, was that the direction you needed?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I guess that we want to make sure that we leave enough time for people to fill out the conflict of interest and financial disclosure statement once we mail them out to the full membership, which is what we will do again. What's a reasonable amount of time for people to have to return those? Do you feel is 2 weeks a reasonable amount of time?
A month? Anybody willing to split the difference and do 3 weeks? John is here to be able to respond to that. How long does it take to fill it out?
No, to mail it, for us to receive it, for them to send it back.
Let's see, so if you trust the post office, maybe a week to mail it out and get it, right? There's a week.
You said you were an elected official?
Yeah.
You
Was.
But you went through the whole process, so you went through what, a year?
Oh, no, when I decided to run, I filled out the conflict of interest form.
How long did it take you from the time you filled everything up to where you candidate to when you were voted in?
To tell my brother I was going to fire him if he asked me for any favors, it was like a day.
So it took you what?
It took me a couple of days.
No, what I'm saying is from the time that you got paperwork in and you were elected.
3 weeks it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get stuff.
So you
Okay,
can't
so
read
30 days.
So you can't read what?
Do you want to say 30 days? Is that what you're looking at? So the day it gets mailed out? Shelley, it looks like from the day it gets mailed out to the time it comes back, 30 days is what people are looking at.
From the time it gets mailed out to the deadline of when it comes back. So if I put it in the mail on the 1st, it would be due by the 1st. Okay.
1st to the 1st.
Okay.
Okay, so folks got that 1st to the 1st.
Okay. So the one thing we don't know is the availability of La Arboleda on a Sunday because it is often rented. So if today's the 24th, let me see if I can pull up the calendar here. And like towards the end of September, is that a good time for us to have that next special meeting?
On this point? Because we're wrapping up the 30 days to try to figure out the date.
Yeah, mine is, I just want to request that they post something on the people that are running on the Facebook, so we know a little bit more about the people, opposed to posting it right up here right now. That way we just kind of know who we're voting for. If you guys could post on Facebook.
Maybe
that
with
would
the
be great.
criteria. Okay, so.
Everybody has Facebook.
Would you like me to request that anyone who wants to run voluntarily provide a candidate statement, and then as your secretary, you can call me, I can email it to you, I can mail it to you, and because of that 20-day window, we can't have the election until if you wanted to have 30 days to fill out the form, then there's another 20 days during which any of you can request that information.
From Shelley.
From me. And so it would be, the election would be kind of mid-October, late October. That's the way it would timing.
Yeah, it's sounding like it's going to be close to
I can do
October.
that. I can put that in with the notice to the membership asking candidates to submit a statement of why they want to run for the board and what they have to offer.
Okay, and it sounded like the 30 days is going to put you into about October.
It's going to be late October.
Okay.
It'll be like the third week of October.
So it's Facebook. It's going to be posted on Facebook. Shelley, people can call her to get information. This gives people time to fill out the forms. Okay. Was there another question back there? Yeah. Could you stand up? It's hard to hear.
My name is Robert Martinez, and I'm going to disagree with Mr. Juan about that.
I'm sorry. I think it's too long of a time. It's not. It's what?
It's too long.
I don't think it's too long, but I heard a consensus from the group that was going 30 days. This seems to be enough.
Couldn't we just bring in the form, like whoever wants to do for maybe 2 days before submit it? I mean, we can take the time to read it here. Can't we just bring it?
Yeah.
Can't we walk it in the day of the meeting? Like someone had suggested.
I heard folks saying they wanted to have enough time to look through the forms, to think about it, and that I was seeing some consensus around the 30 days, is what I was hearing from beginning to end of the process. And then Shelley's going to find out if you can use this space.
There's a 20-day window from the
20 days.
when the form is received by the Water Association and the date that the meeting can be held. If you want to give everybody 30 days to fill out the form, that would mean we can't have the election for 50 days.
50 days?
50 days.
Okay.
So think about that 30 days. Can we make it 3 weeks and maybe get a little closer to mid-October for the election? Is that better for folks?
Mid-October? Your time? Am I seeing nods or?
The first week of October.
Shelley, it looks like you're aiming toward that first week of October-ish, which could spill into that second week, but that's what you're aiming for?
That would mean that you would have about 2 weeks to fill out the form and return it.
Okay. And ask your brother.
As long as we get it.
Yeah.
I know that I got mine the day that it was due. So, yes.
All right, so if you want to run, Shelley, the forms are going to be available through you?
I actually have copies
Oh,
of
right
the
now.
forms
You
here
want it?
today. If you'd like to pick one up before you leave, you're welcome to pick
All
one
right,
up.
so you would get it on the spot. Get it from Shelley before you leave.
And what I'd like to do is if you pick one up today, I'd like to have you write your name and your phone number down. And that way I can tell you what the deadline is so that you have that information because we don't know the date of the meeting yet. And the deadline is 20 days before the meeting. So I want to make sure I can call you so you have that information. We'll also mail it out the information again, but I want to follow up with you.
Yeah, this is good. I just got on a board that fingerprints you, that does a background check, that does, it blew me away, so. Whew. All right, onward we go, folks. Okay, we're moving on. One more thing.
Would like to acknowledge the service of Mark Trujillo, who has served on the board for 9 years. Prior to serving on the board, he was an engineering advisor for the Water Association for many, many years. He's basically been participating in activities, doing special projects, and then running the board as our board president for since the Water Association was formed in 2001. He's He's been involved longer than anyone in keeping this water association running. And he's been a tireless advocate, always makes time, always does more than anyone in terms of work, and we're going to miss having him as our leader, although he has graciously offered to continue to be an advisor on engineering matters for the Water Association, which I know we will all benefit from. But the members of the board, including John Isaacson, we all decided we wanted to kick in and do something to honor Mark. So we have a little gift for him, a little award and a gift certificate to Gabriel, so you and Mary can go and have a nice dinner and decide what you're going to do with all your newfound free time.
This is beautiful. Look at this. Thank you. I want to say that it's been an honor to serve as an engineer advisor, and then as a board member, and then as your president. And the reason I do it is because, well, my roots go deep here. My father was from here. I have a lot of relatives here. I have relatives in the meeting. And I'm familiar with water systems. I work as a water system engineer for the Los Alamos National Laboratory. That's my current job. I've also worked as the water section superintendent, and I've had craft working under me. I've had fitters, and operators, and laborers doing corrective maintenance on the system. So I felt that it would be a perfect fit to help Chimayo. Chimayo was very special to me, and I pray that I've made a difference, and I thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, that's a great loss, but kudos to you, and you'll stay on doing, you'll be helping the different capacity. All right. For Mark?
Oh, guys, sorry. I'm just curious, are all of you guys volunteers?
They're all well, when I introduced them at the beginning,
well, I was thinking, but
okay, so let me just point out is I had the board introduce themselves. So Shelley, Jerry, Miguel, those are your board members that serve as volunteers. So when you give a plaque to somebody like Mark, it's because he works full time and he's doing this as a volunteer. Then you have paid staff, which do things.
We don't have paid staff, we have contractors.
Contractors, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Contractors get paid to do specific work like bookkeeping.
So what I'm asking for everybody, is that why you hiked our rates to pay the new people you got in here?
So let's hold the question that comes right under D.
Okay.
So hold that question under water rates discussion.
Okay.
And so where we're at right now, so thank you, where we're at right now is a review of the water rights issues. And I'm going to turn to Michelle Henry because this is a legal issue. And that's why you have an attorney on staff as a contractor, not on staff, as a contractor, because these are pretty complicated issues around water rights. So Michelle, I'm going to turn to you for that item C, review of water rights issues.
Sure, thank you, Rosemary. As you probably know, the water system was set up with the expectation that water rights owned by the old water systems, Chimayo Water System and Llano Chimayo, the expectation was that those water rights would be transferred into the new water system and they would be used to serve water to all of the customers. When you go through the process at the state engineer's office to allow that transfer, those water rights were protested, and that was a protest by Santa Cruz Irrigation District. It's been pending for a while, since 2011. And when we got together in February, you probably remember I was pretty frustrated because it felt like, we weren't making any progress in that proceeding. We need to work on settling Santa Cruz Irrigation District's concerns and get the process moving again in front of the state engineer's office. So I wanted to report to you all that I have been meeting with the attorney for Santa Cruz Irrigation District for this issue, and our hydrologist has been meeting with their hydrologist, and we are on a path to get us towards settlement. So hopefully that issue, I think, will be resolved in the next while. So what that will do is it will bring about 28 acre-feet of water rights into the water system, in addition to the 9 acre-feet of water rights that are already in the water system. Now, those 9 acre-feet were the domestic well transfer. Some of you, when you signed up to become a member, you said, I have a domestic well and I would like to transfer a 1/4 acre-foot to the association. Some of those have gone through, some of those we will be working on very soon. So those water rights accumulated came to about 9 acre-feet, and that's what the water system is operating on right now. But we're operating in a deficit because the customers use about 28, 30 acre-feet. So the difference between 9 and 28, is a big difference, and we're going to have to pay that back one of these days. But we are moving forward, and I think we're going to get the water rights issues resolved in the next year or so, in the next 6 months or so. In addition, the association is probably interested in talking to people who have water rights for sale. So if you know people who have water rights for sale, please let the board know. And that's probably all I have, Rosemary. I'm happy to take questions on the water rights issue.
All right, do folks understand this? I know from the meeting that I was here in February, this has been a long, ongoing issue with the district. So to get it this close to closure is really good, and that it's just going to take a little bit longer, but it seems like it's moving in the right direction. All right, I've got a couple of hands. I've got you in the back, and then I'll come back up here. Yes, sir.
Okay, isn't the centers use surface water rights? Doesn't our water system use subterranean or whatever the word is? Are the water rights different? Isn't that, can you explain?
That's a very good question. Our hydrologist feels strongly, and I believe the Santa Cruz Irrigation District hydrologist agrees, that here in Chimayo, they're pretty much the same thing. Now, from the state engineer's system of how they monitor water rights, they're different categories. But here, because the acequias are putting so much water into the ground as they run, it's pretty much the same thing. And so that's part of what Santa Cruz Irrigation District has been concerned about is, with your groundwater pumping, are you going to affect the water that gets into our ditches so that we can serve the irrigation district members? So you're exactly right. That's one of the critical issues in all of this.
They're interrelated. The ground and the surface are interrelated, and I think that's exactly right, is that's what makes it a little more complicated. All right. I had your hand in.
I have a question about being on standby for the water. And also, the question is also with the water rights. Because between the property that we have 2 meters on standby. We're managing the property across the street, and has 2 also. All right? And we have the meter, that means that we already either paid or gave the money, we gave the rights or we gave money to get the rights for the property, for the water. Now, the thing is, we were on the assumption that we would get the water right away. Now, where is the water that we paid for 1 acre of water rights going that we paid you guys for, and we can't get it right away?
Right, okay, so let me give some background and then try to answer your question, okay? The association uses about 28, 29, 30 acre feet a year. That's wet water, that's the real water that comes out of the tap. That's what we use in the household. The water rights owned by the association that have been approved by the state engineer for use, that's 9.4 acre feet. And so from the state engineer's perspective, we are over diverting. The association is using more water than it has the right to use. And so until that situation is corrected, the board has said we don't want to add new taps to the water system because it just increases that over diversion. So it would be, instead of 30 minus 9, so it's at 11. Instead of 11 acre feet a year we're over diverting, it would be 15 or 20. With each new tap, you increase the amount of water over diversion. And the problem is the state engineer's office requires a payback of water for over diversions. And it's not 1-to-1. It's not, if you over divert, you have to come back 1 acre foot. It's 150 so if we are over diverting 15 acre feet a year, we have to pay back 30, potentially more, potentially 30 acre feet a year. And so what that means is, from an economic perspective, this association, by adding new members now, has to pay back in the future. And the board just felt like it was not responsible for them to increase the debt, to burden on these members in the future. And so that's why there is a moratorium in place. And I have committed to some of the people who have come to some of the monthly board meetings that I am working my best to get this resolved. And hopefully you will be able to hook up within 6 months. Okay, so stay patient, stay with me and stay patient. If you have friends on the Santa Cruz Irrigation District Board, we just want to encourage settlements so that we can actually get those water rights owned by Greater Chimayo approved for transfer into those wells, so we're not over diverting any more going forward. It's very important. We stop the bleeding. Does that help answer?
Not really. Well, because the thing is that the board themselves approved new hookups to people that didn't have, the board didn't have the water for. The original, because I have, like I say, I have actually an acre, because I have four different meter heads, but I don't have the water on it, because I'm on standby. So the board.
To a pot.
Well, it's not 1 acre foot, it's actually a quarter acre foot as well. That's part of that 9 acre feet that the Water Association is now living on, is the 9.4 acre feet. But not everybody's, so what happened, Rosemary, is there were about 50 domestic wells where the owners put forward that quarter acre foot. The state engineer nickel and dime and said, this one doesn't have the D, this one doesn't have this one doesn't have that. So it went from 50 applications going through a quarter acre foot down to 9.4 that were actually sent up for transfer. And that clump of 50 applications represented 50 possible applications. There are more that we're going to try to harness and get into the water system. But first I have to get this protest resolved, because otherwise we'll just run out of money.
That's pretty frustrating. Okay. I got your hand next, and then I'll come back here. And you haven't spoken yet, so thank you.
No, my name is Wilbert Romero, and you mentioned something about the water rights, the surface water rights and the acequias and the groundwater rights were similar. I don't think they are, because the groundwater rights are governed by the state engineer. The surface water rights are governed by the community, the ditch commissioners. The state engineer cannot transfer water rights from the ditch to the ground. It has to be approved by the area commissioners. And the only way that they can do that if the applicant applies to transfer water rights to groundwater rights. That's the only way you're going to be able to transfer or sell those water rights if you have them underground. But it has to be approved by the commissioners first.
All right, I had your hand next.
Have other resources being explored to find out if there are water rights that could alleviate the problem until 6 months is over?
So the question, Michelle, is are there other possible water rights that could be purchased or leased, I think,
Available.
that would help alleviate the current problem?
Or have they been offered to you?
Right.
Okay.
We have been looking into those possibilities, whether it's a sale or whether it's a lease, to actually move the water right from where it is currently being diverted and put to use into the Greater Chimayo wells requires that state engineer transfer process, which has to be noticed and which has the possibility of drawing a protest. And so until we resolve the concerns of Santa Cruz Irrigation District, which is the protesting, they can continue to make those challenges with every transfer or sale or lease that we try to get into the water system. This board did in the past seek an emergency authorization, which would have stopped the bleeding while that application is pending. The state engineer's office denied that request. So to answer your question, yes, that's a fair
If the
question.
state engineer recognizes the water right, if they recognize that water right that's being offered to the board, is that something that the board could utilize
The state engineer still needs to go through their procedures.
And it could be protested against, what you said earlier. So there's still the potential that even if it's an existing legitimate water right, it could be protested. That's part of their process. So somebody could say, stop, and you're back again to the same issue that you've been working on.
So we have documentation indicating that the state engineer has indicated that they would put a stop to it if, let's say, we are in a county where we offer water rights.
And I assure you, I've been talking to Rio Rico County, but it would still have to go through that process. There's no way to circumvent that process of public notice. It's about due process. If we were to find a way to circumvent that process, we would have violated people's rights. And so you have to go through that process, unfortunately. But I assure you, the board has been looking at everything we can. There was an application filed to claim surface water rights that were historically used for drinking, and to declare those water rights for use in the water system. State Engineer's Office took the position that it has no jurisdiction to accept that declaration. It has to go to the adjudication court. We've just been through hearings on that issue. So I don't mean to make this more complex than it needs to be, but we have really looked at everything we can, and right now the fastest track for us is to resolve that Santa Cruz Irrigation District concern. Try to get this.
I believe that with the amount settlement that they have going on in Milwaukee, they were able to transfer something like 50 acre-feet of water from the north of Taos over to Milwaukee. And that's the only question I had. Is there other resources available?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yeah, thank you for that question, because we do need to look at everything. So if people, I know after the last meeting, I talked to a couple of people about some ideas. One of those ideas was, if I've got a domestic well that I'm going to abandon, can I transfer all 3 acre-feet to you, to the association? And I met with the head of the Water Rights Division. I met with their attorney on that issue, and they said no. All we can accept is 0.25 acre-feet unless you can prove that there was greater indoor use, like if you had a very large family and you were using closer to a whole acre-foot for your indoor use, and you could prove it, they might accept it. But I asked them that question because I was hoping to get some 3 acre-foot chunks, and they said no.
Yeah, I think you're in the same position as many folks. I'll say for like the city of Santa Fe, we were buying water rights and we were competing with Santa Fe County. We were competing with each other, and people were, it kept going up. So everybody's trying to figure out, how to do that shuffle. And Bernalillo County is certainly doing the shuffle. So it's a tough one. You're right. But it sounds like she's trying really hard to get it resolved.
Thank you.
Let's see. I had another hand back here. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Sarah Montoya, and this is more like a personal issue. We talked about water rights at the beginning when the community services started. If you remember, I've been waiting for a letter. I'm the one.
Okay.
Ever since then, my daughter joined the community. She gave part of the water rights.
Yeah.
And then she decided not to become a member. She got her money back, but we're on the water rights.
Yeah.
And maybe now that they're in the minutes, I'll get some results.
Okay.
So you two need to talk right after the meeting because it sounds like she's got some direct information. So we'll go back to that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I thought you had forgotten. That's the only reason why I still.
All right, Michelle, anything else on water rights? Was there any other question on an update on the water rights issue? Yes, ma'am?
I have a question. The moratorium for the standby, the board decided that they would freeze hooking us up. But they continue charging. We're over 100 people that are on standby. We're paying $21 a month. We're paid twice. That didn't freeze. That continues. We're paying, and no one's being able to tell us. I mean, it could go 5 years, and we're paying $21 a month, double that, and we can't hook up the water. We have a place that we need water, but the board doesn't care that we need water, but they continue charging us. Why are we paying if we can't hook up? It doesn't make sense.
I'm trying to get this resolved in the next 1 to 6 months for that reason. And your question is kind of a rate issue, so maybe we can.
Yeah, okay, so move to that one. Okay. Any other questions on the water rights issues? All right, thank you, Michelle. So let's move on to the next one. These are all discussion items, water rates discussion. I know that, Shelley, I'm going to turn to you to kind of give the overview on this one. You'll have to speak up. You've got a form for folks. You need help passing those out? Yeah. Stand, please. So everybody take a deep breath. This is the harder discussion, I think, about rates.
So the Mutual Domestic Water Consumers Association is an arm of the state government and run by a volunteer board. And we're governed by a document that's called the New Mexico Sanitary Projects Act. We're also regulated and overseen by other state agencies. One of them is the New Mexico Environment Department Drinking Water Bureau. And they provide us a lot of training, and one of the things that they train us in is setting rates. And we're charged with setting rates periodically. There's no set time frame in which we set rates, but basically in setting rates, the goal is to be able to cover your expenses, your expenses of running the water association, to cover your loan payments if you have any, and we have 3 loan payments to the Water Trust Board who help fund the construction of our system. And to set aside a minimum of 10% of your annual budget additional money into a reserve fund. And the reserve fund does a number of things. It's an emergency fund in case we have a major water breach, natural disaster, or anything like that. It's also a saving for a rainy day fund because meters eventually wear out, water tanks need to be repaired, all sorts of things happen, and eventually everything in the system is going to have to be replaced. And it's also just a reserve fund so that if something happens where we, as volunteers, our budget it doesn't reflect what the actual costs of the system are in any given year, we have the money to help cover those costs. So there's no money being made. It's a trying to make sure that it's equal on the expense side and the income side. And that's the goal of using the tools that we've been given by New Mexico Environment Department to set rates for the Water Association. So this spring, we went through a series of meetings, the board, where we sat down and went through using a particular tool. And there's a URL that lets you look this tool up if you want to go in and play with it and see how it works. That is located on the New Mexico Environment Department's website. So we use that tool, and we took a bunch of numbers that we have. One thing is our budgets for the last 3 years. What it costs to run the system. And we plug those numbers into this tool. We also have an inventory of the system that we have now, all the assets that are part of the system. And the inventory includes a list of how long each item will last. So it has a lifespan. And then it also has a cost that item will cost when we have to replace it when it finally wears out. So we plugged all those numbers in. We also plugged in the numbers for our loan agreements and the debt service that we have to pay on those loans. And when we plugged all those numbers in, and we plugged in the number of members that we have, we also did a survey. Since we've been metering now for a couple of years, we were able to look at your historic use patterns and try to determine the range of uses and how many people use water in this range and how this much every month, how many thousand gallons. And use those numbers to try to determine how to construct a rate structure. One of the things that we have to do with rates is that the state really wants us to encourage conservation. So they strongly recommend that your rate structure be progressive so that for people who use more water, as they add more water to their bill, it goes up more. So people who are using less water are paying less per gallon than the people who are using more. And so it's called a tiered rate structure. And when we apply for money from the state legislature, for instance. They look at our rate structure to see if we're doing that. And if we're not doing that, we don't score as well on our applications for funding. So this shows you an example of someone who might be using 6,000 gallons of water in a month. And the way we set up the rate structure was with a base service rate that everyone who's actually getting water service pays. And what that is helping to pay for is the running of the water system. And then the water usage helps to fund the loan payments and to set aside the reserves. So if we base all of our rates on how much water you use, if we got 50 families moved out of Chimayo, closed their houses up, and they stopped using water, the amount of money that would be coming into the Water Association would drop. And we wouldn't have enough money to pay our bills. So we're trying to set a flat rate underneath that helps make sure that we can always pay our bills. And then the water rates are above that. So it's a very, very hard process. It was very hard for us. And when we ran the numbers, what it was telling us that we had to charge our customers was actually almost twice what we raised the rates. No, what the formula was telling us we should charge was twice what we actually did raise the rates to. We did not raise the rates to the level that it said we should do if we were doing our jobs properly. So we made an adjustment because we knew that this community needed to have good water and we couldn't price it out of everybody's reach. So we did raise the rates. All of us have higher bills. But we didn't want to raise it to the point where it just was crazy high, you know? So we did the best we could. We tried to keep it at a moderate rate and not push so hard
finish and then I'm going to come back
be
to questions. I've got your hand.
responsible about making sure that in the future the water system will be here for all of us. So again, we're committed to keeping the rates down. We watch our expenses. We have a lot going on right now that costs us money that we don't like spending because we don't like being in legal conflicts. But if we can get it resolved, I think what will happen is that we can settle down and not have some of those expenses. And when that happens, that savings is going to pass on.
Okay. Thanks, Shelley. So I've got a couple of hands on this. So hold on. I've got 1, 2, and did I have a third one? There'll be more, guaranteed. 3. Right? 3? Am I going to okay. So 1, 2, and then 3. So go ahead.
So it was the board and not the members that voted for the rate increase?
That's correct. We're required as a board by law to set the rates, not the membership.
Okay. So just to reaffirm, to answer your question, to reaffirm is following the rates that were set through NMAD sanitation regulations and the formula that covered these issues that are in here. I just repeated kind of what's in here, but covered expenses, loan payments set aside of 10% for reserve, replacement and infrastructure. Yes, the board followed, but didn't quite follow. They said less than what the formula actually called for. Okay, so at that point.
How are the meters read? The reason I'm asking this question is my mother is 93 years old. And at her age, she doesn't do as much as she did. She still has a garden outside, but I'm using her private well for that. Her water bill went from $36 to $278. Who's reading these? That's exactly my question. Who's reading the meters? The number 2 question is, I don't know if you all realize this, my house burned down June the 23rd. So there's no water at my house, but this last month, my water bill was $49, and my mother's was $41, and we were living in her house. So who's reading these meters? And that discrepancy of $278 for a 93-year-old lady, I paid it. raise our cost of living because of everything that's going on in this world. We have to pay for the Iraq war, Afghanistan war, and all this other stuff. But we don't care about our elderly citizens. We don't care about the poor, the displaced, or the homeless, or anything. $278, and I had to pay it because I felt guilty for my mother. Where is she going to come up with $278 when she only gets $900 a month?
Yeah. So board members, there may be some questions you can't answer because it's going to need a little more digging, is my sense. This is one that is extreme. I don't know if you want to add anything to it, but it might be one of those that we bracket to try to figure out what's going on, unless somebody has information. Vince, you want to answer anything or add to that?
I'd like to say that our meter reader, he goes out once a month. And we have two types of meters. We have the touch read and we have the radio read. The touch read, you actually have to get off the truck and you point this instrument with the wand and you put it on top of the meter cap. That's the touch read. The other ones, he can read from the truck, but he has to be in a certain area. And any time that we have somebody that's using more water than normal, I get a text from the office to go check it, and I go check it and I read it myself.
Well, my question is, did I get charged for the fire department putting water out of the hydrant here at Chimayo Elementary to put out my house fire? And does the fire department not work with you guys? There being a fire hydrant just up the road from my house, they let my house burn down.
Okay, so let's just go back to how it's read by a meter reader once a month from the trucker side. Hold on. So he's describing the process. Go ahead.
And like I said, going back to if an individual is using too much for some reason, they have a high water bill or too many gallons they use, I get a text. When they find out, I get a text. I go out and I check it. And I'm going to say that 90% of the time the meters are accurate. And what I do sometimes is I prove to the customer, what I do is I show the customer how the meter works. I have them not use any water at all. I make sure that no water is being used. You go see the meter is not turning whatsoever. And the minute they get a cup of water or a bucket of water, that meter spins. And then what I do is I get a 5 gallon, I have a helper, check the meter with the 5 gallons of the truth. And I haven't found the meter yet that doesn't.
Well, that wasn't done enough. You went out the day after the fire, and the water accounting was already done for the bill. So it's not like water was used from her meter to help fight the fire, okay? So I would really honestly ask the board for you guys to find out what's at the bottom of this $36 to $278, because that's huge. Everybody's complaining about high water bills. How many of you got $278 water bills?
I got an $800 water bill.
Well, there may be other issues. Yeah, and this is what it sounds like, is there may be other issues that could be addressed or not addressed at this point.
There has been mistakes.
Well, there's never been a mistake in this case.
They have been corrected for some reason.
And now there's no water running in my house because I don't have a house. But my water bill is higher than my mother's with 3 people in it. And I don't, like I said, I don't mind paying higher rates, but they have to be reasonable. I mean, all of us here in Chimayo we're not rich. That's why we stay in this valley, because it's beautiful, loving, gorgeous. But maybe it'd be cheaper if we moved to Rio Rancho.
Then you're paying Rio County water rates. Don't move to Santa Fe. Those are really expensive water rates.
Chimayo is a beautiful valley, and we have beautiful people. I experienced it the night of my house fire. People that have lived there next to me, I didn't know because they moved in after. I was born and raised there. You know, they all came up to me, and they knew my name, and they all tried to help us. But then says $278, if it's a drone that's reading the meters or something, that drone needs to know what a 1 is and a 2 is and a decimal point is, because there's something wrong with the decimal system. There is some
sounds like it's a separate issue that,
Well, what we can do in your case is, we can get the date of when the fire was on.
Since 23.
Okay, we can do that, and then go check the meter manually to see what the reading is. Because in your case, maybe the fire caused a leak in the line.
With the distance from my house.
oh wait, let it finish, let it finish, go ahead.
So I can go see, open up your meter, see if it's not turning right now. You know what I'm saying? If I go tomorrow and I check it, and you're not using water, but it's spinning for some reason, something went wrong with the line. If it's not spinning, we'll check the readings. I'll send them to the office and put in a 35-foot by 5-foot swimming pool. And they know better, they're not supposed to be using the water for that. I found another case where the parents were gone and the kids were filling up a 300-gallon swimming pool, and they would empty it every day, and they had a mess in the property. They were doing that for I don't know how long, and they got a high bill. But I can promise you that I will do my best to prove to you that the meter is working.
Okay, and that's about the best you can do right now. So,
You can find the swimming pool in my place, and I'm still paying up $278.
yeah, well, let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance, as he said, to try to figure out how quick, sorry. Okay.
Get him to move, because he already knew.
No, I'm hearing that he's gonna do all he can to try to figure out what's going on.
I follow procedures, and when I get requests, I go on and check.
Okay, so we're gonna leave that one because that's about all we can do at this point, is that you promised to look at it. I think that people believe in your skills, so, all right, there's a couple other hands. Who were the other ones? Did I have your second? No, who was second? See, it's a test to see if you remembered back there.
My name is Irene Martinez. I used to be the president of this greater Chimayo. And I have a question for the board. Did the board take into consideration the people who are fixed incomes, who are wondering, do I pay my water bill this month? Do I get my medications this month? Or how am I going to pay both? Did you guys ever take into consideration this? Because if we would have been in this situation when we were with the board, we would have made sure that we considered the low-income people. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Arlene. So just to reaffirm, for folks, this is what I heard earlier is, maybe that's how things were done in the past, but if you're following the regulations of how your rates are set, these are the things that go into that. I know in the city of Santa Fe, when people have not been able to afford their water, they had a form that they could fill out, and people paid a little extra for those that were on fixed income, but you applied for, there's different ways that you address those kinds of issues. But if you're following the process, this is what you've got. All right, who was my number 3, which was on this? Oh, I had you in the picture, right? Number 3, okay. And you'll have to speak up.
The water-based charges, you have a water-based charge on a flat rate, and you have a water usage charge. I mean, and also fire protection. I mean, that was imposed on us. Do we really need it?
Well, Oscille's house burned down. I don't know.
We're charged. We're on 1 meter, and we're charged double. And believe me, we're not using the water. There's only 2 people in the house.
Okay.
It went up triple.
So Shelley, on that point?
I would like to address your particular situation. We have the one account that has 2 structures attached to a single meter. We discovered that after you have become customers, and your particular rate is based on the fact that your water meter is serving 2 structures. That is very uncommon. You're the only people in the water system that are in that situation, and that's why your
water
water
usage is probably not being taken into consideration because the water usage is very minimal in the structure.
No, that's absolutely correct. Your water usage rates are determined exactly on your water usage, and the base rates are just 1 for each structure. And everyone else pays for 1 structure because they have 1 structure. You have 2. You're the only account that's like that.
You guys made us put an extra meter.
That's correct.
So how come we didn't go for the same for her?
That was discovered after the installation was done. At the time that you became customers, we knew we needed to.
Yeah. So trying to be equitable, I think that's equitable is hers is 2 structures, but 1 meter. You're the same, but hers was afterwards, but there's a, I don't know if you can remedy that.
See, they have 2 meters. It's
Hold on, folks, so, hold on. I see your hand, just 1 second. Go ahead, Vince.
They have 2 meters and they were assigned for each house, but they were using 1, and that's the reason why they enforced it.
Okay. Hard ones. All right, so anybody who has not spoken yet? Okay, 1, 2, and you want to follow, okay.
I think he said if you have 2 meters, one is being used, one isn't, you shouldn't pay that $5 fire.
I never said that.
Okay, well, what happens there? We use 1 meter with that's drawing water, one is just sitting there.
Stack them.
And we have $5 on each meter. Is that correct?
The $5 fire protection fee.
Right.
Santa Fe County runs our volunteer fire department. They provide.
Okay, so hold the side questions.
To cover certain costs for running the fire department. They do not pay the water association for the water that the fire department uses. So this, I'd like to speak to the fire protection fee because the board does not like the fire protection fee and we're working very hard to try and make it go away. And I want you to know that and you have our assurance that we're going to do everything we can to make it go away. We believe it's the responsibility of Santa Fe County and Rio Arriba County to pay for the water that is used to fight fires in our community. It is community water association water. We do need to have someone pay for it because it costs us to provide the water, to maintain the hydrants, and to get the water rights to cover the water that is used for the fires. But it's not fair to the members who have either an active hookup or a standby hookup, and you're the ones who are now paying the fire protection fee. It's not fair to you to be paying that fee for someone who is just a member of the Water Association or isn't a member yet. So we have started working with the fire department. We're collecting lots of information about their water usage on fighting fires both in our district and outside our district, because they use some of our water to do that. We're also collecting numbers from Santa Fe County and Rio Arriba County, and I need to talk to you, Phil, about this, to try to identify, get good numbers for the number of households in Santa Fe County and the number of households in Rio Arriba County. And then the next step is to go talk to our commissioners in each of those counties and give them a bill. We're going to give them a bill. We're going to say, this is what it costs to provide the water for your fire protection in your counties. And it's your responsibility to pay this, not just a few people who live in Chimayo paying for everyone. And that's our hope, is that we can persuade them. And at the time that we go to talk to our commissioners, if any of you would like to come, that's the best way to persuade them, is to have your voices heard directly. And we will make sure and let you know when that's going to happen. And that way, if you'd like to come and join us at a meeting of the commissioners, we can make our case directly to them.
All right, thank you. It sounds like it's another one of those work in
And I
progress.
have another question, like about the payments. Why do we have to mail our payments to Las Citas? Why can't it be here like it used to be?
Yeah, so I
And
hate
you
when I
have to
mail my
pay-
gas bill to Denver, I'll tell you. It bugs
Well,
me.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, this is something we used to do
Yeah.
before. We used to come to this building.
Right.
And I liked it. But now you have to hurry up and mail that payment, because if you don't, you get cited for that. You get an extra fee charge.
All right, so I don't know if that can be resolved at this point, but you want to?
When the board contracted with our billing service company, we did an RFP and we got bids from 3 different billing companies. And we chose the one that could provide all the services that we needed for the best price. Having a staff person work for the association here was not the best deal for us. So we decided to go with an economy of scale with someone who does this for many water associations to try to keep the cost manageable for our members. and to make sure that the work was being done properly. And we've been very happy with that decision. And one thing I would say is that we're starting to investigate other possible ways of allowing you to pay your bills. And, you know, just give us a little time.
Yeah, it's like that, what do they call it? Auto pay, maybe?
Yeah.
But are you gonna have to charge us for that?
They do cost money. They do cost money. So
It's like a bank transaction where it's, yeah, it sounds good, but it's 50 cents a transaction or more. But it sounds like they're working on different ways to reduce the bill, and it was less to go with a company than a person who actually, right? So it's a company that
We want to
doesn't.
be able to give you some options. And, you know, they all have a price tag attached to them, but we'd like to give you options so that you have a choice.
A cheaper option.
All right, so I had your hand next, and then I'm gonna go to, you'll be 3 and you'll be 4. And I'm still looking for people who have not spoken yet, just to make sure I'm being fair, so you're next.
I would like to thank everyone involved for providing this service to the community, first of all. Thank you. And and she took some of my information. Why is the $10 late fee so high? Can it be lowered? $10 for a late fee? Some of these customers can't even afford their monthly payments.
Well, we have bills to pay too.
But $10?
And we have a lot of customers who don't pay their bills on time.
But $10?
I understand, but we have to get people to pay their bills on time so that we don't have to shut down because we can't pay our bills.
So how about $5?
You know, we had a lower fee for late bills, and people were not paying their bills.
Still weren't paying them on time. So good suggestion, if everybody in the room said, yeah, we're gonna commit to getting on time, it'd be a different issue, but, yeah, thank you. All right, hold on, other questions?
Another thing was the auto pay. I was going to ask about the auto pay. Maybe you can have a drop-off box here at the Arbolera. Somebody can pick it up, auto pay.
It would have to be a person that would be paid to pick it up, but that's an option. You're back to that other one, yeah. So it sounds like the board is doing all they can to look at ways to reduce the costs, all of them. So I don't know if you can add, there's nothing to add to that, but it sounds like they're looking at it.
But your suggestions are welcome, and, you know, I think what we'd like to do is look at it as a whole subject and try to come up with an array of options for members to pay their bills.
Yeah.
And it's very much on our mind.
Probably my second one right there.
My question is to you guys.
If folks could hold the side conversation, it's hard to
My
hear.
girlfriend over here, where she got her deal, we tried calling numerous times, we came to this, you call this phone number, no answer. You get a recording, they don't answer the phone, they don't return calls, all this, so what's the deal with the whole phone system?
So you want a phone, somebody to answer the phone?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to, a lot of these people come around calling to discuss their bills, and then we get recordings, and you guys just, see, I come from Hernandez, and over there we have an office, we have a person over there, we go in there, we talk to him, and that's it. You know, one call. Over here, you call, she called like maybe 6-7 times.
Yeah, and each community is really different. Every community is really different. So I think the board's taking what you're hearing and trying to figure out ways to have good customer service. I don't know if there's an answer. So you do? Oh, okay, thank you.
We receive about 30 to 40 phone calls a day about a variety of things. Didn't get my bill, we'll send you your bill back, we'll send you a bill. Just a variety of things. How much do I owe? I lost my bill. Why is my bill so high? Why did I, did you get my payment? That kind of thing. So when we get 30, 40 calls a day, the voicemail message does state, please leave a message and we will return your call in the order received. I have an electronic phone system, so any message we receive is recorded and it is translated. So I get it via email also. Not only do I get it, but the customer service, Ruth Gonzalez, also receives it. And that is how she determines who to call next. Now, if you don't leave a message, she can't call you back. And she's not going to call you back. I would say I can tell you exactly who calls and doesn't leave a message. It's the same people over and over again. So if you don't leave a message, we're not going to call you back. You got to tell us, this is Joe.
This is my issue.
This is my issue. This is my question. My account number is 35, and I can be reached at this number or this number. You might leave, if you have a cell phone or a landline, you can leave both numbers, and she will call both.
Great.
And she does track.
All right, do you also do emails?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, okay. All right, so,
yes.
We did call, she did leave a message, and I called, as a matter of fact, myself, and left you people a message with the number to reach. I'm still sitting here waiting for a phone call.
She leaves a message. If you have a voicemail that's a voicemail box, if it's full, she can't leave a message. But if you have a working voicemail message, she will leave it. I can also see how long she spends calling and talking to each customer. I can tell you exactly when she calls you, what time she calls you. She will try at least 2 or 3 times. She will call you by the end of business that day. I can, if you, I'm more than happy to take your phone number and show you exactly when and how, on what day and what time.
There's no escape from technology.
No, there's no escape from technology.
All right, so I had a third person. All right, so who was my third person?
No, it's been over 2 hours.
Yeah?
Sorry.
Thanks for coming. Was there a third? Okay, all right, so any other questions on the water rates discussion? You've got a lot of information. Thanks, Shelley, for the breakdown.
You had a question?
Oh, well, I was trying to figure out.
I have a question. I'm still concerned about my $21 that I'm paying every month and I'm on standby. And that shouldn't be paid the $5 water fee that is being added to the bill. Secondly, I know that there's a lot of elderly people out there. Like she mentioned, they can't pay their bills and they should work on something to see how they can lower the rates. Thirdly, I know that there's a bunch of members in the Water Association that owe a lot of money because I used to be one of the directors, and they should follow up on those individuals to pay their bills so they will be charging and raising the rates of the water. And also, I got it to my attention, we can't connect because there's not enough water and still paying the $31.
Okay, so I'm trying to pull them apart if there was anything that the board members or others could answer. So the first question around the what does your $21 cover?
$21 is standby.
Say it again?
Standby. It's standby.
Which is what I think you had talked about, was that standby. I thought that got answered.
There are some members here that might have 3 or 4 meters that are standby, they're paying $21, including the fire fee, that the number of the meters that they have. I don't think it's fair. I think that the rates should be lower for those individuals that are not receiving water.
I agree. I agree. The situation.
Okay, we'll let her answer the question.
I'd like to speak.
Yes, it is.
Well, you went back to the first part, so you want to take a crack at it, Shelley?
I'd be happy to. The standby fee was set up when people signed up to become members. They signed an agreement that said, when the meter is put in front of my house, I promise to hook up as soon as I can, because I know the Water Association needs me to pay for my water use and to help keep the association healthy. People didn't necessarily hook up after they got their meter, so they've been paying a standby fee. Now, circumstances have changed because we have a moratorium on people hooking up. We do have a waiting list, but for people who have chosen not to hook up, even though we went to the expense and the trouble to put a meter in at their house, what the standby rate does is it keeps them in line for water. They're in line ahead of anyone who's not a standby customer. They're ahead of other members who are just members, and they're ahead of other members of the community who have not even joined the Water Association. It adds value to your property value that you have a standby membership in the Water Association. If you sell your property, that adds value to your property. It's very important, if you have a standby membership, to hold on to that standby membership, pay that fee. We are doing everything we can. Michelle has said 1 to 6 months, we hope we will get past this barrier with Santa Cruz Irrigation District and be able to lift that moratorium. And then people who want to hook up can. If you are a standby member and you don't want to hook up, I just encourage you to keep your standby membership because it does add value to your property. But please hook up to the system after that moratorium is lifted. We'd love to have you as customers.
What happens?
The $5 fee, you have a water line past your house and you have fire hydrants. So that's the fire protection fee. We're supplying water to everyone in the community for firefighting purposes.
But they don't keep.
Hold on, he's got the floor.
When her house was burning down.
I can't tell you what the fire department does or doesn't do.
What would happen if the next month I decide not to pay my $21 standby fee?
Wow.
What would happen? Bottom of the list, and then when I need to get what will be the fee?
If you stop paying your bills for 90 days, you'll get a notice from us that says your membership is going to be revoked if you don't pay your bills. Then you go to the bottom of the line and you have to apply as a member again at some future date. The cost to apply would be whatever the cost some future board sets for that membership.
I've already paid my membership since 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. I have to start again with another membership.
That's correct.
Yeah. All right. Whoa. All right, so you're following the process. Hold on. So here's where we're at. This was just a discussion that people, yeah, hold on. I'm going to look for a few more hands from folks who have not spoken yet. I don't think you've spoken yet.
I have because it was a moratorium, but I'm a little confused because I guess I'm wondering Shelley's position. Is she? She's the one talking, none of the other members are talking, so who is the president? I haven't heard a word from him.
Okay. So let me put a stop on it, because what you've got is the person. I'm going to let you speak in just a second. Shelley's got a lot of the information. So you want the person who's got a whole lot of the information at her fingertips to give you that. You want to hear from Mark? I'm sorry, Miguel. You're welcome, but what you've got is the person who really knows the most about what's gone into the water rates, who's given you the background information. All of these board members participate with folks at their board meetings, so it's not like it's got to be equal with everybody speaking. So
Yeah, but it just seems like a one-person board.
all right. So do you want to hear from the person who? Yeah, you want to hear from him? Okay. Yeah.
Budget and all that. The treasury isn't doing anything with budget.
All right. So let me tell you what we've got on the agenda is on a water quality report that's coming up next. So hold on. You've got a water quality report coming up next. Mark's going to speak to that. You've got a construction update that 2 people are going to speak to that, Shelley and Michelle probably. You've got a treasurer's report that we're going to hear from a couple of folks on that one. And then we've got the last item. So there's a couple of ways that it's been divided up. It's not equal. Do you want to add anything, Miguel?
We've been here 2 hours.
Yeah, and you're at 2+ hours and we've still got a couple more agenda items. So chop, 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 right? Anything to add?
Understand, we're not stupid, but you guys go into all these, et cetera, et cetera. People are asking one question, which is easy. Why is he paying $5 on 2 years? He's not using them. And you guys give us all this data. We don't care about that. He wants to know why he's paying $5 twice and water, whatever the hell, on 2 years, and he doesn't even have water. Why are they giving the water to them?
Okay.
These people don't have water. They want water. That's all they're asking. Please, already.
All right. All right. Folks, let me check in with you. Hold on. You've got several more items to go. There's been lots of questions that I've tried to be really fair about. Maybe I can move it along even faster. Some of those questions that are more specific, there are people who can answer those questions offline, as we would say, offline. So you want to keep moving it along to the next agenda items? All right, because I'm going to try to give you chop chop. All right, so hold on. This, hold on, ma'am. I'm gonna say this is the meeting manners. I'm gonna call on people, it's respectful.
The board enacted their own Robert's Rules of Order parliamentarian, but they have to bring somebody from the outside that doesn't care about Chimayo anyway.
But you don't know that. You've made a statement that's not fair. No. All right. So to keep the meeting moving, because you all agreed the meeting manners, right? You all sat here and agreed. I've been fair to try to get you all to speak, right? Whomever wanted to speak. So you all said, let's keep going to the agenda? Yes? All right. Because you're learning. Each chance you're also getting to learn what's going on. So the next report is Mark. It's along, but I think you have lots of questions.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move into water quality report.
So hold on. Water quality is your health.
And there are several items that I'm going to cover today to discuss your water quality. One of them is the consumer confidence report. The other is exercising of our hydrants and valves.
So Mark, you want to stand up to say this?
Stand up? Okay.
Or folks can move even closer if you want to.
Okay, there's three items I want to discuss with you. The first is our consumer confidence report for 2013, and then I'm going to touch on exercising our hydrants and all our underground valves and the value in that. And then I'm going to just touch on the sanitary survey. It's an upcoming survey by the New Mexico Environmental Department, and that's coming up. So I'll go right into the consumer confidence report, and I'll just go through the contaminants that are included on the report that we got from NMED and where we stand. And chlorine, which Vences, he takes samples and he sends it in for analysis. Chlorine every month, and what that does is that measures the disinfectant level of the water to make sure that your water is safe to drink. And he does that every month. And chlorine, they call it a maximum contaminant level. It's 4 parts per million or 4 milligrams per liter. Our water was at 0.5 milligrams per liter, and that's done every month. And these are the that was the high, and the low was 0.4, and so we're doing well there. The water is safe to drink. Halocetic acids, which is a byproduct of drinking water chlorination, we're well within that. The limit is 60 parts per billion, and we're at 8.7 parts per billion. Again, that's a byproduct of drinking water chlorination. Trihalomethane, the limit is 80 parts per billion. Our water sample is at 35.8 billion parts per billion. And that's another byproduct of drinking water disinfection. And the next item here, we had an exceedance on, and of all things, we had an exceedance on fluoride. And we're okay with well within arsenic and uranium levels. And fluoride is defined as an erosion of natural deposits. It forms naturally, and the reason we have that is, well, the location that we have our wells. That's what we got. It's also a water additive which promotes strong teeth, and that's in our toothpaste. And also in this year that fluoride can cause a discharge from fertilizer and aluminum factories, which we obviously don't have. So we were notified by the New Mexico Environmental Department that we had what's called an exceedance of fluoride. It's not a violation, but it's an exceedance. And I'll read to you here what this does is, this exceedance is that, I'll just read you part of the letter that they sent us. And I included all this in our consumer confidence report. And we have this posted at various places. We have a copy here. We have it posted at the post office, the Benny Chavez Center, and Rolando's. And there was also a notification sent out on the bills that the consumer confidence report was available, a copy was available, to contact Diane. and that was sent out on the June bill. And so we did do a public notice, and so I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. It says here, elevated fluoride levels detected in Greater Chimayo Water System. This is an alert about your drinking water and a cosmetic dental problem that might affect children under 9 years of age. At low levels, fluoride can help prevent cavities, but children drinking water containing more than 2 milligrams per liter of fluoride may develop cosmetic discoloration of their permanent teeth, and that's called dental fluorosis. The drinking water provided by Greater Chimayo Water System has a fluoride concentration of 2.8, and so that's in excess of 2. Dental fluorosis in its moderate or severe forms may result in brown staining and or pitting of the permanent teeth. This problem occurs only in developing teeth before they can erupt from the gums. Children under 9 should be provided with alternative sources of drinking water or water that has been treated to remove the fluoride to avoid the possibility of staining and pitting their permanent teeth. You may also want to contact your dentist about the proper use by young children of fluoride-containing products. And fluoride is not only found in water, it's also found in products we buy from the stores. And let me read on here. Drinking water containing more than 4 milligrams per liter of fluoride, which is the U.S. EPA's drinking water standard. Now we're talking about an excess of 4. That's when it becomes a violation. Can increase your risk of developing bone disease. Your drinking water does not contain more than 4 milligrams per liter of fluoride, but we're required to notify you when we discover that the fluoride levels in your drinking water exceeded 2 milligrams per liter because of this cosmetic dental problem. And there are home treatment water units available that can remove fluoride from your drinking water. There's a number here. It's the NSF International. It's a toll-free number, and we are going to be putting our consumer confidence report on Facebook, so it'll be available for everyone to read. Also, I'd like to add that fluoride levels up to 6.8 milligrams per liter can be found in the juice you buy at the store. And you may, I didn't realize this, that it's in the products that we buy at the store. It's also it's found in soda, soft drinks, up to 1 milligram per liter. It's also found in the cereal that we buy. And I think it's worthwhile that we check the labels of some of the products that we buy and check for fluoride. And the other one, the other item here that applies more to adults is you find fluoride in beer. And, which kind? Which kind?
No beer, no sodas. All right.
So as a result of that, and this makes sense, heavy beer drinkers may ingest more than 4 milligrams per liter dated from beer alone. So that has an impact on heavy beer drinkers' diet. So that's, let me go through these. And I would encourage people to get information off of the postings that we have or off of Facebook for that toll-free number and find out what treatment systems are available. I move on. Does anybody have any questions on that?
What kind of beer, I think was a question.
What kind of beer?
So you're adding fluoride for water?
No, it's unusual because it's naturally occurring.
Yeah, it's coming from other things and it's naturally occurring. It's other sources, it sounds like.
Okay.
And you gotta remember that not all of us have Facebook or computers, so there's gotta be other ways of informing the people.
Yeah.
Right, and like I mentioned, there's a posting right there that I put out.
And some of us don't know how to read.
You don't know how to read? Okay, well come to me and I'll give you the information.
Okay. So Facebook, it's being posted, and ask Mark were the 3 ways to get the information.
Right.
The underlying point is that it's not being added, but it's naturally occurring. It's coming from other things, from the food you eat, from other sources. So this is good information.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on here. Our nitrates, the maximum contaminant level is 10 parts per million. Our water's at 2.32. Get into the radioactive contaminants. Radium, maximum contaminant level is 5 picocuries per liter. We have 0.2. Alpha emitters, 15 picocurie per liter, and we're at 14.4, and that's kind of high, and that's also caused by erosion of natural deposits. Our uranium, the maximum contaminant level is 30. We're at 11, so we're well within the uranium requirement. Ethyl, the volatile organic contaminants, ethyl benzene, maximum contaminant level 700, we're at 0.4. Styrene, 100, we're at 0.8. Toluene, 0.002. I'm sorry, toluene is 1, we're at 0.002. And then xylene is 10, and we're at 0.0012. We did well on our lead and copper samples that we took last year. We were in the limits. Ventus, they require that we take lead and copper samples every year, and until they're comfortable with our results, they'll put us on a 3-year requirement. And Ventus, he took the lead and copper samples last week from our customers, and we'll await the results and take it from there. Arsenic, maximum contaminant level, non-detectable, no arsenic. Barium, non-detectable. Chromium, non-detectable. Selenium, non-detectable. So, of all things, we have to deal with fluoride, and I think we're blessed in that we don't have to deal with uranium or arsenic or nitrates. Right? So that's what I have on the Consumer Confidence Report. We will be putting this on Facebook, and if anybody would like a copy, ask me for a copy. I'll make sure that you get a copy of this. We exercise our fire hydrants and our hydrant valves and all our other underground valves. We do that every 2 years, and what that does is that allows you, the customer, to have water when it's needed. It's there, and it provides you with a reliable source of water. And there's a lot of communities, they don't go out there, they don't exercise their hydrants, they don't exercise their valves, period. They wait till something goes wrong, till something, they're more proactive on their maintenance than or rather I should say reactive than proactive. We're proactive. Does that make sense, what we're doing? We exercise our hydrants and our valves, and we evaluate the condition, and so that it's ready to go when needed. The last item I'd like to talk about here is the sanitary survey. And what that is that's a survey that's conducted by the New Mexico Environmental Department, Drinking Water Quality people. And we work with Joe Martinez on this. And we have an excellent working relationship with Joe Martinez. And he's scheduled to be here on September 19th. And what he does is, he and another person from Drinking Water Quality is they do a walk down of our facilities, and they look at our equipment. We talk about operation and maintenance, and they talk to Ventus, and they make sure our operator is certified. Ventus is a level 4 water operator, which is a blessing. That's priceless. And we're looking forward to meeting with Joe, and he's the kind of guy that will work with us and help us with whatever comments that he has. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, sir.
How does our water quality compare with other systems in the valley?
Well, I know that Espanola, they have problems with uranium, and what they do, what I understand they were doing is they were mixing their water to get that uranium level down. I don't know all the details, but as far as to answer your question, I think we have great water quality. It does take work to make that happen. It just doesn't happen. I'm scheduled to go out October, November with a couple of guys that are certified water operators to exercise our hydrants and our valves. But to answer your question, we have great water, but it's not perfect. It's not perfect anymore.
Other questions? Good? Yeah, thank goodness you got good water. Yeah. Good job, Vincent. Mark, thank you. All right. I'm going to take you quickly on to the next item, which is the construction update. And let me turn to Shelley and Michelle on this issue.
I'll speak kind of quickly on this issue. There is no construction going on right now, as you're all aware. The board has been working with Santa Fe County to get some money from Santa Fe County that would enable some construction going forward. That would include construction within the Chavez tank and acquisition of water rights that we've talked about before are needed. The other thing that's going on is in order for the association to apply for state monies, it needs to have its audits current, and so the board is in the process of getting all of those audits current, and hopefully will be in line to try to get some money with the next legislative session. So the board is working on getting to a point where it can get more money for system expansions to places where the system is not very bad.
The audits are behind. I mean, I think we'll probably cover that in the treasurer's report.
Yeah, the audits are behind, so it's just taking a little work to get all of that done, but it's in process.
Okay. Any questions on the construction? There wasn't much. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Robert Medina. I do have the water up to my dad. It's a private road that limits to my dad. And it's supposed to continue back to the Llano area. But the neighbor doesn't want to allow the water to go to their dad. So I gave him approval to go to my north side of my land. Okay? I don't know when it's going to happen or anything like this, but due to the fact that water rates increases and fire protection, I'm starting to reject my approval. So if I do accept the sole reason for allowing the water to continue with that, I expect better than what it is now. Perhaps no chance to handle myself.
All right, thank you.
I gotta better myself.
All right, treasurer's report, and I'm going to turn to Jerry and Shelley on this one. This is
Okay,
Jerry, you'll have to shout it out because it's mostly.
we have 4 items, 4 line items in there.
Is there something to hand out to folks? I can help you with that?
Do you have copies of the?
Yeah, I'm just asking for those. We'll get those out to folks.
I will pass them out to Jerry.
Do you want me to get some on this side, Shelley?
Okay, the first 4 line items are the accounts that we have with the Central Bank. And that's a savings checkings in the state of New Mexico and BR number 2. And the total balance would be, as indicated there, as of 6/30/14, The other items listed are fiscal year 2013-14 key financial results. The water revenue sales is 141,000 as indicated, and the cash reserves with Santa Fe County contributed by Santa Fe County bond funds and spent it in 2013 and 2000 fiscal year 2013-14. It was spent during that time for the different construction. Anyway, the hookup fees are as indicated. Meter installation fees accrued as indicated. Increased income was 175 as indicated. Miscellaneous revenues 2,566.20. This money was in lieu of repayment equipment for damage due to electrical power surge from Hemes Electric. The total unaudited amount is 221,000 as indicated. Total operation expenditures were in the amount that's a minus 479,000. The debt service that we owe with the Water Trust Board loans is as indicated 17,000 and some, and anyway, the construction after deduction to cash reserve is 24,587.61. Last line items are history of account receivables balance from 2010 to 2014, and they're listed as not audited. Quick book account receivables balance adjusted by that amount reconciled to quick water set up as allowance for default accounts. These are unaudited figures. That's it. If you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer whatever you need.
Thank you. All right, so there's a couple hands. I've got your hand here, 2, and then is there a third one? No. Okay, so let's go here. 3. All right.
Do you know how much is owed to us by people that are paying their bills? What's the total amount of that?
That's the accounts receivable.
The accounts receivable, yeah. How much is owed?
That's the accounts receivable.
Oh,
On the bottom of the form, there's an amount.
It's on the bottom part of the...
No, $47,231.
That's how much is owed to the association by people that are paying their bills?
In any given month, because accounts receivable is a snapshot in time, we bill about $19,000 a month in water bills. So a portion of that is just your monthly bills. Then there's a portion of that money that is folks who never paid their bills and lost their memberships. Okay, so there's money on our books still in accounts receivable that are people who are no longer members. And the Water Association has a couple of options that we can do if we want to pursue it. One is we can take them to court. That costs money. The other is we can put a lien on their property. That also costs money. So we haven't done either of those things. We still reserve the right to do that. But at some point, what will happen in the audit process is that those will be written off as bad debt and they will no longer show as accounts receivable. That doesn't mean that the association can't go back and try to collect them. Another possibility is hiring a collection agent. That costs money. So we have made some good progress in collecting accounts receivable, but there are still some unpaid bills out there that we're trying to collect.
So it's not a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. See, I had you next. But you have to stand up. Okay, so it got answered, and it sounds like there's ways that that's being resolved. These are probably like at the bottom of the list. All right, was there a third witness? Or?
Third. I understand the overall financials and how this all balances out. One thing I'd like to see is future reports, if you can't give me the information today, is when we have total operating expenditures of $179,000. That's a lot of money. And I'd like to see a breakout on that. I know we haven't had any construction. So where is all this money going? It'd be good information for us to understand as the overall membership, how this money is broken out. Not that we are going to sit there and dissect each part, but a better understanding of how the system is being run.
You check it out. You're looking going, wow, it looks like a lot, but then you look at the money coming in, money going out. And you do have some loan debt, it looks like for sure, that's a big one. All right. But anybody giving you money in the future, just to note, these are really critical from a water trust board perspective or any other NMFA, New Mexico Finance Authority, or any other authority is what's your financial state and can you pay it back? So these are, thanks Shelley and Jerry for your hard work on these financial statements, and they're a harsh reality, but they're what you have. All right, any questions? Yes, ma'am?
Did he just ask if, are you guys going to send every member a copy, a breakdown?
No. I heard him ask, just to make sure if I didn't get it right, is within that figure, give a little more detail in the financial report at board meetings. It's not going to be individual, but I heard him ask for a little more breakdown in the expenditures line item, just to get a better idea. It might be in categories, but a little more detail is what he's asked for, not individually, but as part of the financial report.
But you guys will have copies for all of us when we come to the meeting next time? Because I think everybody was interested in that.
Yeah, it sounds like you get a report at meetings anyway, a financial report. I'm looking to Shelley and others. You get a financial report, but it will have a little more detail, is what I think people are asking. But you get this at board meetings, right?
We review monthly financials at our regular board meeting on the first Tuesday of every month.
Yeah.
Actually, and they're always a month behind because our bank statements don't come until after our board meetings.
So you'll get it at board meetings and then you'll get it at annual meetings. All right. Well, hold on, before you ask a question, anybody who's not had a chance to ask a question? All right, I'm going to go back to you again. You have to stand up.
Next time when they give us the financial summary, you should give us a copy and break it down, who's getting paid what,
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Because I know they give us one of this, but it's not breaking down who's getting paid what amount of money is being paid at the end of the month. Because I know there's some people that they're paid with the bill, they're getting paid, and how much they're getting paid.
And my guess is that at regular board meetings, you're probably doing a revenue and expense report. At the board meetings, at the regular board meetings, they're doing a revenue and expense where you're seeing more of the detail. And I've heard people ask for even a little more detail at the board meetings and then with these kind of reports also. So thanks. All right, good suggestions? Anything else? All right, keep us moving. You're good sports, so it's almost dinner time. Maybe run to the Chimayos. All right, keep moving. That's it. Our grocery receipts. All right, that was the treasurer's report. Last item, petition from the Greater Chimayo MD WCA, the membership to the board. And I understood that there was a petition. So would it be helpful to give a little bit of the bylaws, how that works for folks? Would that help? And then we can jump to that item. Would that help, Michelle?
Well, the bylaws actually don't address petitions.
Oh, that's right.
So who's presenting?
Who's presenting All right, so there's a petition from the floor, and you guys just go ahead, take it.
So there's a petition, and we as representatives of the members here are asking for a special meeting to remove or replace the removed directors. And in that special meeting, we also want to have the meeting for the election of the replacements. We are wanting this on September 7th, if the facility is available, if not the 14th, if not the 21st.
Just to make sure that folks are clear, is the special meeting that you talked about earlier to replace the one board member, when you figured out the timeline and to get people to support it was October?
No, this is something completely different.
So this is
a petition coming from the members
for a special meeting.
For a special meeting to replace the current board that's sitting right now.
Okay. All right, so, and when does that happen?
We're requesting for that to happen September the 7th.
So, I don't know what the...
That's something completely different as to what we talked about.
All right, so from a legal perspective to have, I'm just thinking in terms of, thank you, in terms of notification and what that's going to require. I think, Michelle, I'm not sure if that's addressed in the bylaws.
There's a legal amount of time.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out so that folks know what we're dealing with.
And I believe it's 20 days.
20 days from today?
From before the meeting, so whatever the meeting date is, back 20 days, it would have to be.
So do you want to set that meeting and then backtrack the 20 days?
That's when the notice would need to go out.
Okay.
And I don't know who's going to council the notice.
Who's gonna, you guys?
If we have to make phone calls, we have a list of numbers and.
You have to do a notice, official notice, so you.
No, we don't mind. We don't mind.
So two people who are gonna do official notice, and you're gonna try to figure out, I guess 20 days. You forgot.
Well, we actually have.
Rosemary, a point of
Yeah,
order.
10.
It actually would be the responsibility of the existing board to give notice.
That's, okay. All right. Fair enough, thank you.
Can we have their names when they call, we know who we're talking to?
What are your names?
Carla Martinez and Yvette Martinez.
Okay.
And correction, it's 10 days.
10 days.
Prior, so.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. All right. Get all of the work done. So just to reaffirm to folks, when you go forward to start talking to other folks, what you've gotten today has been information about the election. You've gotten information about the previous, that you're going through audits that are getting you caught up, that the board has been responsible for doing kind of a catch-up for folks, because legally you have to have audits. You can't go for more money if you don't have what, if you're in good standing as an organization. So those audits are happening. You've got your attorney who is working with the state engineer's office under contract, because water rights issues are pretty complicated. You've got a water operator who is currently being held to the highest standards on giving you high water quality for your health and for the benefit of the community. So I want you to really take this into serious consideration, is when you are looking at perhaps even rates, compare yourselves to maybe other communities would be helpful. I'm just giving you some ideas of things to look at. You're not in the boat alone. There are mutual domestics throughout the state. Look at what they're doing. So comparing yourselves to others as you make these really hard decisions and move forward. And remember that you've got to have money to operate. So if you don't have in place a legal entity to sign off on contracts and audits, it's a really tough position to be in. So encouragement is to be really thoughtful about what you're doing. My parents are from Nabe, Buwake, and Sobrio, so I understand what water rights really are. They're your life, and water quality is really, really critical, and so far you've been provided with those. So I think from an accountability perspective, you've got people who've met their obligations as board members. For people who are thinking about being on a board, buena suerte, because you're volunteers in an unpaid position. You really do need to follow the conflict of interest. You really do need to disclose your financial, whether you like it or not. And as I said earlier, I just got on a board that really wanted to make sure they had people who were legally, not felons. So being fingerprinted, that's not what you have, but I'm encouraging you to really get people who have knowledge. If you're dissatisfied in any way, people who have a lot of knowledge about hydrology, legal, about what the issues are, because this is your life. All right, Miguel, with that, I'm gonna, I guess, adjourn the meeting on behalf of the board. And thank you folks for coming out and staying as long as you did, and good luck to you. All right?
It is adjourned.